Hello and welcome to this session. This is Professor Farhat, in which we will go over an alternative minimum tax simulation or an exercise, whatever you want to call it, depending whether you are a student or studying for the CPA exam. Now, before you dive into this AMT, I want to make sure I had 4 recordings prior to this explaining the various parts of AMT. In this session, we will work an example that covers all these parts, specifically a CPA exam simulation. And I will keep this short formula on the side to show you where we are at any point. This way you understand where we are in the process at any point in time. So we have Olivia and Daniel are married filing jointly. Their adjusted gross income is $420, and they reported the following itemized deductions and AMT preference items. These are their itemized deduction from their Schedule A. The depreciation, they have a business, they have computer equipment, office furniture. This is the cost of $8,000, the cost of $15,000 for the office furniture and $5,000 for the computer. Regular MACRS depreciation $3,200, AMT depreciation $2,400. For the office furniture, the MACRS depreciation is $3,750. For the AMT depreciation $2,813. We also have incentive stock options. Olivia exercised 2,000 ISOs incentive stock options. The exercise price is $22. The market value at the exercise was $30. And the regular tax liability, it's given to us and we'll need that for later, $74,000. What we need to do now, we need to compute their alternative minimum tax. So we need to see if they owe AMT. So we're going to start from regular taxable income and go all the way to find out whether they have an AMT or they don't need an AMT. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we proceed any further, I have a public announcement about my company, farhatlectures.com. You are here because you are serious about mastering taxation. Whether you are taking a tax course, studying for the CPA exam, or enrolled agent, tax feels overwhelming, not because it's impossible, but because it's dense, detailed, and often taught at a pace that doesn't match the way you learn. The rules can feel disconnected, and the logic isn't always explained clearly. At Farhat Lectures, we slow it down. We explain the why behind the rules, break concept into simple steps, and rebuild your understanding from the ground up without assuming any prior knowledge. When explanation matches your learning, everything changes. The confusion fades, the rules start to connect, and tax becomes manageable. If you are ready to understand tax with clarity and confidence, start your free trial at farhatlectures.com and let's build your tax foundation together. First, compute the regular taxable income. So their adjusted gross income, AGI $420,000. What comes after adjusted gross income? The itemized deduction. And notice here they're giving us the medical after the floor. So the full amount is deductible. State and local taxes, mortgage interest, and charitable contribution. So all these figures are within the limit. Therefore, the total itemized deduction is $74,700. The taxable income is $420,000 minus $74,700, $345,300. So basically what we did is we computed the regular taxable income, because the way we compute this is we go backward. After we compute this, we go backward, making certain adjustments to come up to AMT. But this is the first step. Now in your exercise, in your CPA simulation, that number might be given to you, regular taxable income, or this, if this is a simulation, they might give you the 1040 and you have to figure out where is regular taxable income on the 1040. But it doesn't matter. Once you know what regular taxable income is, if it's given, you will use it. If it's not given, you will work backward to compute it. And this is not even working backward. We're given AGI, then we deducted the itemized deduction. Now we're going to move from regular taxable income. We don't have standard deduction because we are told, look, they took medical expenses, which is $6,200 after the floor, $32,500 state and local tax, mortgage interest $16,000, and charitable contribution $20,000. Now we're going to move into the adjustments, and the first adjustments we are going to make are the adjustments for You guessed it, Schedule A. So what do we need to know about Schedule A adjustment for AMT? You cannot take the state and local taxes. What does that mean? It means we need to add back now 32,500. We add the full amount back because the medical expense is allowed for regular, allowed for AMT, therefore no adjustment. Same thing with mortgage interest, allowed for regular, allowed for AMT, and the same thing for charitable contribution. So only thing that we have to add back now is state and local taxes, 32,500. So we're done with one adjustment. So we're still working with adjustment. The second adjustment we are going to work with is depreciation. Now the good news is you are giving all the depreciation side by side. On the CPA exam, they may not give you the information this clear. What they can do on the CPA exam to make your life harder, they could give you MACRS depreciation schedule and AMT depreciation schedule. And they would say, we're working for year 2. Then you have to find the rate and multiply 8,000 by the rate will give you 30. The appropriate rate will give you 3,200. Take 8,000 multiplied by the appropriate, get the AMT depreciation. But here you are given the depreciation. Nevertheless, you have to understand what adjustment am I making. Well, I have to find the difference between the two methods. If you notice, the depreciation for the computer equipment under AMT is $800 less. So we have to add back $800 of depreciation for the computer equipment. And the same thing for furniture. For furniture, the difference is $937, and for the computer equipment, $800. In other words, we have to add back the depreciation expense difference because for MACRS it was higher. Now that could reverse. In some years, MACRS could be lower than AMT. But if the information is not given, you'll have to compute this. Now let's add the depreciation. 800 plus 937 equal to 1,737. What do we need to do? This is another positive adjustment. 1,737. I'm sorry, 1,737. Maybe I said a different number, but that's the total adjustment. The third issue we have to deal with, incentive stock options, ISOs. Olivia exercised 2,000 shares. The exercise price was 22. The market value was 30. Do we have to make an adjustment? Absolutely. The ISO preference is equal to the bargain element. What's the bargain element? The bargain element here is Olivia got an $8 bargain element because she was able to buy the stock $8 less. How many stocks do we have? 2,000. And that's going to give us 16,000. Add back, that's another adjustment. So the market price minus the exercise price is 8 times 2,000 shares will give us a $16,000. We'll add it as an ATM preference plus 16,000. At this point, we covered the Schedule A, the depreciation, and the ISO preferences. Therefore, in total, we have adjustments of 50,237. So we did not have any negative adjustments. All the adjustments were positive. For the sake of this illustration, we don't have any tax preference items. The only thing that could be tax preference item is the private activity bond, something called PABs, and we explain them, and always the preferences are positive. Remember, PABs are not the same as municipal bond, but I did not include one. But if we had one, it will be a plus. Usually that's the only one that they usually ask about. So at this point, we could compute AMTI. What's AMTI? It's regular taxable income plus all the adjustments. So if we take regular taxable income, we started at 345,300, add the adjustments, we come up to 395,537. So we are up to this point, 395,537. Now, what's right here on this line, AMTI before exemption, 395,537. Now the only reason I'm not using the form because I'm going to be using the 2026 numbers, and I don't have the form for 2026. I'm not using the AMT form. That's why I'm using this because for my purpose is you have to know the rules. You have to know the rules. Now you can plug in everything in the tax form 5261, but that's a different story. If you want to do it, you can obviously do it yourself. But the reason I don't want to do it because I'm using 2026 figures and it's not available yet. So let's subtract the AMT exemption. The AMT exemptions, according to the latest rules, is 140,200 for married filing jointly. Now, even if this is not the right number, it does not matter. The number will be given on the form. And we are way below the threshold. The threshold for married filing jointly is $1 million, where you start to lose this exemption at a 50 cent for every dollar. We're not even within that range. Therefore, we'll take the regular taxable income minus the exemption will give us 255,337. So this is the AMT base. Now, what do we need to do with this base? Let's go back. So basically what I did is I took the 395 and I subtracted the exemption. Again, that's giving. There's no phase out because we're way below the phase out. And what number did I use? This is supposed to be 2026. Maybe this is not the final number. It doesn't matter, but there's an exemption. You deduct the exemption. Then you get to the AMT base. Once you get to the AMT base, which is in our situation 255,337, according to the latest rules for 2026, the first 244,500 will be taxed at 26%, and anything above that amount will be taxed at 28%. So what's the amount above? The amount above is 10,847. Now I'm ready to compute my tentative minimum tax. What's taxed at 26%? 244,500, which will give us 63,570. What's taxed at 28%? Any amount above, which is 10,837. Now we could add up the two total, 63,570 plus 3,034. The tentative minimum tax is 66,604. Okay, so now what we did is we computed the amount here. Tentative AMT. Now, what do we need to do after we compute the tentative AMT? We have to compare this to the regular tax liability, which was 74. So we did all this work. What we find out is AMT doesn't apply because AMT is lower than the regular tax liability. No amount is due. I hope you're not surprised. But I hope this was a good exercise, good simulation. Now on the CPA exam, I highly doubt it that they will give you a simulation. And if they give you one, it will be maybe only the first part. And what I mean by the first part, and maybe they might, for example, again, I'm guessing they might give you regular taxable income and they want you to compute AMTI before exemption, because on the CPA exam, they don't want to go into the phase out. They don't want to go into the threshold from year to year. So, but you need to be familiar with, I went through the whole thing, but you need to be familiar with that. And you need to know that if AMT is lower, we'll take the regular tax because the regular tax was giving. If you remember when I started this exercise, I told you that the regular tax liability, it's giving at 74,000. Now, if the regular tax liability was 50,000, let's assume that's the case, then we have to, the extra, whatever we got, 50,000 versus, now you are ready to compare the two to see the difference. Still be the difference between 50,000 and 66,604, which will be 16,604, and this will be the extra that you'll have to pay called AMT, which is in this situation it did not apply. What should you do now? If you're a CPA exam candidate, enrolled agent, accounting student, the best way to learn the material is go to Farhat lectures, look at additional resources, AI. Ask AI to explain this topic for you. Ask AI more questions about this problem. Look at multiple choice, true, false, AI CPA questions, exercises. Don't shortchange yourself. Invest in yourself. That's the best investment you can make, and God bless.